The world is full with chatter. Everybody is busy. The world is full with advertisement, constantly people, things asking for your attention. So we're used to, like, if we want to be heard, we need to speak up, and so we can squeeze a few words in. But for masterminding, meaningful conversations, we want to turn it around. And we want to be the person who brings space so that the other person really feels heard. You let the information in, you process it. And once you start practicing that, you don't only notice that people love having conversations with you, and you'll be able to give others a lot of help. You also start to learn and see the world through the eyes of the others. And the more I've been doing that, the more I see how different we all are and how I know nothing.
Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast. Today's episode 270 is about how to master the art of meaningful conversations. If you are on a conscious personal development journey, listen to this. If you are on a mission, an entrepreneur, then you will benefit and enjoy listening to this. Let's dive right in. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast. Today is a very special episode, and it is my real pleasure and joy to speak with Alexander Keehnen again, which we have spoken before on the podcast. So Alexander, first of all, a big welcome again to the show, and I'm delighted to see you and speak with you again.
Thank you, Agi. So good to be in your presence again.
For those listening, I will briefly share that we spoke the first time on episode 53, and that was when we first connected. And of course, you were part of the Gaianet feature, which I did in the podcast in episodes 160 for 3 episodes, which was still up to now, it's one of the most highlighted for me and my most favorite, and I feel so good about this work and that episode. So welcome back for the third time then, and today we'll speak about something slightly different, mastering the art of meaningful conversation. And it's such an important, I think it's a crucial thing to get better at and master at. Meaningful conversations are something that I hope there was more of it in the world, especially nowadays. The value of it is tremendous, and I hope with this conversation we will explore the topic, share your insights and wisdom on this. And actually, let me start with this. Give us a bit of background on this particular element, on your expertise on meaningful conversations and masterminding and these things that we will be discussing today.
Yeah, for me, it's really a superpower, something I discovered in my path of personal development. I tried everything you can think of. Well, not everything, but a lot. And if I think back of the things that helped me most, like the ability to connect with others, put our minds together, generate superior solutions to the challenges I'm dealing with, others are dealing with. It's just, I'm an efficiency guy, and time management wise, you can accomplish a lot by discussing your challenge with somebody else in a relatively short amount of time. You can think of new ideas, solutions that you would never come up with yourself. We're not so used to doing it, it requires a bit of vulnerability. You need to dare to ask for help. You need to dare to lay your challenge on the table. Of course, you need to have trusted people around you who you can trust with that information and who are there really to help you not just like push their opinion or agenda on you, but really help you discover what's best for you. And when those ingredients are there, it's become a habit for me. Whenever I'm stuck, I call a friend or a colleague, and together you know so much more than alone.
And that's so important. And I think many people have a difficulty asking for what they want, or especially when it is something that it will express their vulnerability in a way, because they might have learned that you have to be or look strong, and you have to not express your weaknesses and things like that. So it is, you use the word superpower, so being able to ask for help, for support, even for someone else's opinion when you are stuck, for a lack of a better word, it is very important and very helpful. And we will go into that as well as the other things. We will also frame this conversation within your. You have created an online course where you share all these gems of experience that you have collected over the years. And do you want to share a couple of words about this first, about the course, and then I will go back to the meaningful conversation, and we will take it from there. I just want to frame it as well appropriately.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the course is just a place where I collected a lot of the knowledge, tips, ideas, experiences that I collected in the previous years. Before Gaianet, where we also practice masterminding a lot and continuously put our minds together for shared questions. Before I started with that, I was running Win Mastermind, which is a mastermind group for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. Organized lots of events in Amsterdam, a few abroad as well. Online mastermind meetings where basically groups of entrepreneurs would come together and take turns asking for what they need and supporting each other, sharing meaningful connections, introducing each other to potential clients, sharing tools, techniques, strategies they use. So I've been facilitating many hundreds, I think it's 1,000 plus by now, I didn't keep count, mastermind conversations. And I just see magic happen every time. Just, you never know what exactly, you step into the process together, and in the end, there's always new connections, insights that can really form quantum leaps, big jumps forward in the progression of a project, of a business. So within that context, it was that a couple of people had asked me, can you please document everything you've learned? Can you please create a course in which you explain all these tips, tools, best practices that I apply them naturally because I practice it so much, as a way for people to get started, to learn about having meaningful conversations, go deeper, faster, build trust easily, ask smarter questions. And yeah, that's how the course was born. I was asked, and then I took the time to do that.
That's fantastic. And I did take your course a few months back. I went through it myself, and I will also share in a bit later on about my own experience and what I've benefited personally. Before we go there, let's clarify something, and I'm going to ask you that because also for me, there was some confusion regarding the term masterminding, which you already mentioned. So for me, not so long ago, let's say a year or 2 years ago, masterminding was involving a group of people. it was after learning from you that I realized that masterminding can be on a one-to-one conversation like this one, or even masterminding within yourself, which that I think that is the very fascinating aspect of it, because really it starts from your own mind. So let me ask you then this as a definition: what is masterminding for you?
The main definition I keep in mind is a definition that Napoleon Hill gave in his book Think and Grow Rich. He names the mastermind as the key success factor of all these great people he interviewed. And there he describes the mastermind as there where two or more people come together in a spirit of harmony to focus on a shared purpose. It's not exactly how he words it, but this is what it comes down to. So you need the harmony, you need trust, and the agreement to collectively focus your attention on a specific question. So that's two or more people, and I took the liberty of also talking about masterminding within yourself, because of course the dynamics are different. But for me, a big part of it is about becoming conscious about in which direction you steer your mind's thoughts. Instead of just letting the thoughts pop up as they come, there's ways you can influence it. For example, by asking the right questions. You can ask somebody else questions to trigger new thoughts in their mind. But hey, when there's nobody else around, you can also do it with yourself. Ask yourself some new questions and see what your mind generates.
Absolutely, and the quality of the questions that we ask is very important, because it will determine the quality of the answers that we will get, even if it is just from our own mind. In this masterminding definition and what you said, there is, of course, the element of the other people, and I will go to that in a moment. I want to speak a little bit more about this concept of masterminding within yourself, as you say, and you mentioned about how we direct our thinking. And I remember this is something that really made an impression on me when I was doing the course, because you talk about the two different ways that we can use our mind to think. One is the thinking forward, and the other is drifting. So you talk about effectively using our mind, and I think that's so important. So give us a brief comment about these two kinds of thinking, so we can use that as a foundation, and then we'll move on about connecting with the minds of others.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is a Zen proverb, and I'm sure previous guests in your podcast have brought it up as well, is that the mind is a terrible master, but a great servant. Right? It's like a wild horse we need to learn to tame. And for me, that's one of the big parts of living my most beautiful life, is becoming being able to work with my mind, not let my mind work with me. So one of the standard settings, let's say, of the mind, so when you don't consciously steer your mind and ideas and thoughts are just bubbling up, it's been researched, it's been shown, Solve for Happy, the book also refers to that, is when you don't consciously steer your thoughts, they will typically always go to something fearful. So when you don't steer your thoughts, then your mind likes to go scan for things that might potentially go wrong. You know, manage risk, make sure that I survive the next day, days, weeks, months by scanning everything that could go wrong. And then once something comes up, you zoom in on it and you start to already live it in your mind. It's not only unpleasant, it also it also triggers you actually creating such events, right? So the idea is there to learn to be able to let go of these thoughts. Through meditation, for example, you can practice that. And the other way is you can use your mind to consciously aim your thoughts into a creative direction, something you want more of, something you would like to create. So, for example, visualizing is a way to proactively steer your thoughts, and that's a very powerful part in the creation process. So the mind creates always. What you believe becomes your reality. What you visualize over and over and over again is what you attract. So make sure that it's visualizations that you consciously choose and not the ones that happen to you. Because the ones that happen to you, the reactive ones, when the mind starts drifting, well, they're taking you into survival, fear, and the things that you don't really want to have in your life.
Thank you. And that's, I believe, one of the most important skills that one can master to tame the wild horse, as you said, of the mind, and not let it run loose in whatever direction, which is exactly, as you said, on fearful survival, what could go wrong, rather than consciously, deliberately, proactively steering it towards the direction we want, or the creative, which is it's a beautiful way to express it, and it's so important. There is one thing I will add to that. I will ask you actually to add to that. I remember you were saying about, when you catch yourself, being in that reactive mode, and your mind is really rambling on what could go wrong. I remember you were saying something about leaning back into the now as a technique, or as a method to, help steer the mind again. So do you want to share a bit about this stepping back into the now as a method?
Yeah, for me, this is so important. You heard me refer to Zen Buddhism earlier. Eckhart Tolle is somebody that helped me understand this as well. It's really, the now is all there is, right? I believe one of the main goals of personal development is to grow your presence. Presence happens in the current moment. When you're thinking, you're either thinking about the past or about the future, but you're not in the here and now, you're in your head. And once I understood that, I realized that when I'm having thoughts, or I'm in a loop, or in a storyline in my mind which is not serving me, the temptation is to go into conversation about it inside yourself, in your mind. Check it out, look at all the logical reasons. No, that's wrong. That's how the mind tricks you into more fear. You can just poof, let it go. When a thought or story isn't serving you, you can let it go and lean back into the now. Be here now, be with whatever presents itself in the real world, the real energies around you now, which is presented to you now, instead of making up your own fantasy stories about what might be happening next. So that's really what it's about for me, is the understanding that whatever thought is bothering you, it's okay to just drop it for 1 minute. 10 seconds. Any thoughts you can just drop for 10 seconds. And chances are, after those 10 seconds, you're already picked up a different flow. And chances are you never really needed that thought in the first place.
And apart from the obvious benefit that this has when you are, on your own, and you're thinking of things, or it also benefits very much, or maybe it is the foundation of engaging in a meaningful conversation. This ability, you said, to drop the thoughts and listen. So that's let's talk about that, because I think this is let's go straight to the main the main topic then, the meaningful conversation, because I believe we have set the foundation. So tell me about how this what we were just discussing about applies when you have a conversation with someone else.
Well, in order to be able to listen, it needs to be quiet in your own mind, right? How does the information else come through into your system? There's no space for new information when there's chatter going on in the system that is made to process that new information. So calm mind and presence, they're needed to listen carefully. And who knows, hey, when you listen carefully, you might learn something new. This is not rocket science. I already learned when I was a little kid that speaking is silver and being quiet is gold. And that we got one mouth and two ears for a reason. No, the issue is just that we don't learn to do it enough. The world is full with chatter. Everybody is busy. The world is full with advertisement constantly. People, things asking for your attention. So we're used to, like, if we want to be heard, we need to speak up, and so we can squeeze a few words in. But for masterminding, meaningful conversations, we want to turn it around. And we want to be the person who brings space so that the other person really feels heard. You let the information in, you process it. Like when you hear something, it really takes a few seconds to go through your mind, sink into your body, into your system, your emotions, and land so that things can really click. And once you start practicing that, you don't only notice that people love having conversations with you, and you'll be able to give others a lot of help. You also start to learn and see the world through the eyes of the others. And the more I've been doing that, the more I see how different we all are. And how I know nothing. It's another proverb. Like, the wiser I become, the more I realize I know nothing. All we have is our own little perspective, which is like blurred through all these filters, how we perceive the world. Part of our personality, part of our human design, part of the experiences we went through. Guess what? Another person has a different design, has a different history, different culture, upbringing. The way we perceive the world is a lot more different than we can comprehend, because all we have is our own perspective. And we think the other ones, the other ways that people experience the world is very similar to ours, but that's projection. I think it's much more different than we think. And once you understand this part, like how little we know, and you start to appreciate how much other people know, like in your lifetime, how many books did you read? How many places did you go? How many people did you talk to? Man, Agi here is a walking encyclopedia. And so is every other human in this world. Once you start to recognize, appreciate that, and like the power of being able to ask a question, being able to tap into that encyclopedia, wow, it makes you very conscious of which question do I choose. And like this, with these little mind shifts, meaningful conversations become a whole other game.
I hope that by now you see the value in Alexander's Masterminding 101 course and how you could benefit from it by mastering the art of meaningful conversations. Towards the end of the episode, Alexander has a special offer for you. I'm going to share it here as well, just in case you don't listen to the very end today, which, by the way, I think you must, because there is so much more that we're covering next. So go to personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/101 and use the discount code AGI10, Alpha Golf India 10. Let's get back to the episode. What came up while you were saying that, and that's something I remember watching in your course and reading about, is this, you said that we have our own limited perspective, each of us, and we tend many times, if not most times, to project that perspective onto the other person. So in terms of, instead of listening and trying to understand the other person, we judge or we think from our own point of view. So it's really important. And what you just said now about it's like having an encyclopedia opposite you, and looking at it as an opportunity to learn, to communicate effectively, and also to serve the other person on a conversation. I remember reading, you said something about the raising the vibration of the other person as a point of an aim of having a meaningful conversation. And I loved that term very much. It's such a beautiful thing. And yeah, I'm all for, people doing that, having this intention of raising the vibration of the other person, connecting with them rather than judging them or trying to give them a solution based on our own understanding.
Unwanted advice. People who know what's best for you and they push their advice onto you. I understand it comes with good intentions, but the projection in there makes it very toxic, and often it just creates confusion and doubt inside the other person while you want to encourage and uplift them. And the way I see it, in this life, while most people pretend to know what's going on, I believe no, but how did I end up in this body? How am I here? What is this world? How should it work? The way I see it, we're all walking in the dark. And with our attention, I see we have like a flashlight that we can shine into the dark and see little spots of reality, right? Through the filter of our flashlight. It's not a perfect view. That's all we have. And once you really open up the space together with one other person or a group to look at the matter together, you start to appreciate the other people's perspectives, because it's like a second flashlight and a third flashlight, a fourth flashlight shining there in the darkness. I see this, I see that. What have you learned? What can you report about your observations about this topic? And like that, you can start to form an image of what's going on. And I think that's what it's really about, is clarity. Helping each other see clearer. Once you see clearer, it builds confidence and you're ready for the next step. But essentially, we're all just walking around in the dark, trying to make sense of what's going on.
I like what you just said, helping each other see clearer. And I like the each other bit, which is essential to a meaningful conversation. Do you want to share, even though we have already discussed about how beneficial this is or it can be, is there something else that comes to your mind in terms of the benefits of engaging in conversations in such a way?
Yeah, I'm also an efficiency guy, right? Productivity guy. I wrote a book in Dutch, Get Rid of Stress at the Office. Weg met stress op kantoor. It's all about personal productivity, making smart plannings, prioritizing, to-do lists, And I think the thing people underestimate is how enormously productive these meaningful conversations, masterminding, can be. Like one great idea can save you months of work. When you start to think about it like that, and once you start to understand that the power of asking for help, asking for input, you can figure something out for months or years by yourself, or you can take a moment to ask some people, gain their perspective, gain extra information, and you may quickly see that the direction you had in mind was a few degrees off. So if you start running a few degrees in the wrong direction, well, you can picture it. You end up in completely the wrong place. And when will you figure out that you're not in the right place if you don't have people around you to help you see clearly and understand where you are and where you want to go? So the efficiency element is a very big one for me.
I realized doing your course, and I will share my own personal experience about it now, that these conversations that I have on the podcast every week, it is a one-to-one masterminding. It is not, I never saw it, as an interview, because it's not a matter of having a set of questions and just asking what is this and that and that. It is engaging back and forth and moving the conversation where where the flow of it tends to go, and where I feel that it's more powerful, and that can happen more when you apply all these things that we were talking about earlier, rather than having a rigid agenda, shall we say, of a conversation and try to force it onto the other person. So that was something, my own personal understanding, which was great when I realized, okay, this is masterminding. It's not, it's not an interview as such. Well, it is in a way and it isn't, but the element of this helping each other and, bringing some things up that may have not been said before as well, I found that extremely powerful and very useful. There is one other element, Alexander, that we haven't discussed yet about the masterminding in general and your course in particular. And I won't give much of the weight of this conversation on that, but I think it's important to mention it as well. And that is masterminding in a bigger group, not just two people, so in more people. And I know that you have modules in your course that you describe and explain not only how to participate effectively in a group like that, but also how to lead it and facilitate a mastermind group. So again, I would like to hear some of your thoughts or some of your words on this.
Yeah, it's again different dynamic in a group. Of course, you have more perspectives around the table, so you can reach deeper truths and higher insights. In a way, like if everybody is ready to play this game, it's like a ping pong. I explain to people that the silence is golden. In the silence, you can integrate what you heard. In the silence, new connections, new ideas can emerge from the silence, and the silence gives birth to new creativity. So in a group, when you bring in words into the silence or over the silence, they better be good. They better add value, a valuable question, a valuable perspective. So that's one starting point. And once every group member is aware of that, you can create a beautiful ping pong of ideas, perspectives, insights. It can really become a beautiful dance. I'm saying team flow is the goal. Right? When everybody's aware of that, we want to flow as a team, make sure everybody is heard, make sure we don't take too much time or space or too many words to share the essence of our message or our question. Yeah, like that in a group, you can cover so much ground. Plus, it really builds this almost like a family feeling or tribe feeling, Trust is directly related to the amount of vulnerability that you dare to show. So when you're in a group and somebody brings up a topic like, my business partners are doing less work than I do, and they have equal amount of shares. How should I deal with this? Well, that's quite a topic, man, to put on the table. Or another topic like, um, I'm short on cash. I've been building business. I've been making some decisions, and right now I just need money, man. Like uh, asking the group for help with these things, it creates so much trust. So I notice these bonds stay, these groups stay in touch, and people also know to find each other outside of the official mastermind settings, to just check in one on one. Yeah, that's for me much of the beauty of a group. And yeah, then of course, like for a group to be able to flow together, you need a facilitator. One person to hold the space, to guide the group through a process, to watch some things like making sure everybody gets equal speaking time, everybody gets heard, everybody knows what is going on. And with that, the minds of each individual group member can relax. They don't have to think about all those things, and so they can focus on the topic at hand. I believe the world needs a lot of facilitators in the coming years and decades, because people need to learn to come together again in groups, in circles, need to connect again this way. And the space holders who can help groups do that, yeah, they're absolutely necessary.
Invaluable, indeed. And Alexander, I will start bringing this conversation to wrapping it up, or a summary. It's been, I believe, some very valuable action points or knowledge that it was shared in the conversation. I would like to ask one more question in case someone is very intrigued now and interested. You made this course, the Masterminding 101. Who is it for? In my opinion, meaningful conversations are for everyone, especially someone listening to this right now. I think you are the person that will benefit from it if you've listened to this conversation. But is there something you would like to frame as characteristics, maybe, or?
Two characteristics come to mind. First one is anyone who's on a conscious personal development journey. So anyone who vowed to themselves saying, I just want to learn, I want to grow, become better version of myself. I think this is a crucial element. This is about how you relate to others. This is about the quality of your conversations all day, every day. And it's a topic you don't hear much about. It's a topic that is not so prominent in the personal development space. But I think it's one of the highest leverage topics. So the personal development element is a big one. And second, I would say anyone who's on a mission, like entrepreneurs, business leaders. Like when you're on a mission, it means you're creating, right? You want to create something where there's first nothing. Well, do you think you know and see everything already? Or do you think it will help if other people also shine their light on your journey, on your path? It's so simple. Yeah, as I said, it's a superpower that is left untapped by many. And especially people like these, I think, and they're just going to pick up tons of like simple, small, useful things, like just a new question to ask, just a slightly different mindset to bring to the next meeting. And from there, you start to notice the differences. And yeah, before you know it, you might fall in love with the power of meaningful conversations.
Like you have and I have, absolutely. And I will add one last thing as my own, experience with the course, and then I will ask you to share about the course itself, the details, the nitty gritty of it. So one thing that I appreciated is that it is, even though the topic is vast, your course and the way you present it is very to the point. It is short. It is practical. It's not like theory of this and that. They are very short videos, a few minutes each, that can really go to the its point that you are convinced. So I think in an era where we're bombarded with so much information and there is simply not enough time to, as much as we would like to consume every intriguing course that there is out there, this particular one is short and to the point. So that's something I appreciate, and I think the listener will appreciate as well, the busy listener.
I'm a time management guy, right? So make it easy for you. No unnecessary words. Let's keep it short. Plenty to do.
Do you want to share the practicalities of it? Where is it? And all these things. And I know that you have something special for the listener as well.
First of all, I kept it short and to the point. There's 6 modules, which range from masterminding inside yourself to one-on-one masterminding in groups, facilitating a mastermind, where I really explained some of the key concepts. And in the videos, all of them are 2 to 5 minutes long. I explain a few basic things and I give a few very practical tips, the things you can apply immediately in your day. And the reason I do that is because true learning is not about memorizing information. True learning is about learning new behaviors, experimenting with something in practice, doing something different than you did yesterday, observing what happens, integrating it into your being, and grow from there. So the course is really made to facilitate that. Videos are easy to go back to consult again later. Each lesson comes with some written text as well, in which I basically fill the gaps. The video explains a lot, and there's always a few more things to be mentioned. Mm-hmm. Like that, I wanted to keep it really as a practical resource that people can tap in on and apply in practice. There's some additional topics in there, for example, using hand gestures, especially when you do online masterminds, for example, on Zoom. There's ways to communicate with others without you making sound. So somebody can continue speaking, but through your hand gestures, he knows what's alive in you, and you can communicate in the flow. And there's a few mastermind formats. I attached a PDF, so anyone who wants to get a mastermind group together, and it's happening a lot now, also in the business world, entrepreneurs are discovering the superpower. So anyone who wants to bring a mastermind group together, practice facilitating, I included a script with 5 different formats, just step-by-step processes you can follow. And as a facilitator, you don't need to do much more than just read it out step by step and help the group go through the process. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's on the website, 𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗈.com/masterminding101. Mm-hmm. There's the detailed information. So that's 101 at the end. I'll make sure I create a special link for you, Agi, and your audience to include as a gift a little extra discount. So if that's in the show notes, it's easy to find. And it's very simple. When people buy the course, they immediately get an email, or sometimes it takes 1-2 minutes, with access. So you can start immediately. The full course will take about 2 to 4 hours to go through, I would say. Total video content is a bit over an hour. Then there's written parts, and it depends on how often you pause it and the length of the notes that you take. Mm-hmm. Whether the whole course will be 2 hours, 4 hours. Some people did 6 hours. I don't think anyone went over. You can break it down in as many parts as you want and really go through it in your own tempo. Yeah, and I always say, if you really don't like it, if it really doesn't work, sure, I'll give you your money back. It's not about that for me. It's just about sharing the wisdom. And like that, I make it as easy as possible. If you feel cold, if you feel intrigued, if you feel it could be worthwhile and useful, just get started, dive in, and let me know what you think.
Alexander, thank you very much for this conversation. You were saying earlier about I'll make a quick comment here. How many hours it take? I didn't count how many hours it took me, but I counted. I wrote like 6 or 7 full pages of notes, and I mean the A4 pages. So for me, because I'm this kind of learner, there is a lot of deeper layers there, not just just watching the video. Once there are deeper layers of learning and understanding. So all the links that you mentioned are in the show notes, so you can check them out there. I want to thank you very much from my heart. This has been a beautiful conversation. I enjoyed it so much, and I hope that the listener has enjoyed it as much as we have, Alexander. So thank you once again for sharing the space with me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for creating the space. Thank you for asking the questions and allowing me to share. One of my favorite topics. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
I hope you enjoyed listening and you found great value in the conversation. Once again, Alexander's course Masterminding 101 is at personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com/101 and use the code AGI10 Alpha Golf India 10 for a special discount. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,